It is so great to see you here on, it is a rainy and kind of cold Sunday morning here in Denver, Colorado, where I am. And I know there are other folks in areas. I think Bailey said it was a little gray where she is. Um, and other people, Nicole saying it's a little rainy there too, right? So, which is, that's okay, right? It's spring. We've got to have those showers to bring us some flowers. So I'm okay with it. But it is one of those where I just want to kind of snuggle down with some warm tea and a book and not go do anything, right? Kelly's saying it's pouring rain. They're expecting snow. We had thunder snow last night. I don't know if you have experienced that phenomenon, but it is literally there's thunder and it's a storm, but it's snowing and it's very odd, the thunder snow. So I feel like it's a relatively new phenomenon here, but very one of those where you're like, I'm not sure what's happening here. Yeah, Anne's saying that there's thunder snow sometimes in Nebraska. So it's just that where it was like just cold enough to turn into snow, but there's still kind of a storm going. So hopefully everybody is warm and snuggled down. You've got your April journal with you. You've got your markers. You've got your stickers. You've got all of that with you and ready to set up our first week in April. Yep, Nicole is saying coffee. Absolutely. So also, if you do not have your April journal yet for whatever reason, you can always take notes or write something in another journal so that you can transfer it over when that comes. So no worries there. Is there anybody who's brand new, never been to a social, or maybe never been to one of the weekly setups? You can just, yep, I see Carrie's raising her hand. You can just put like a yes in the chat. Welcome to our new folks who are with us. We like to spend some time, and it's so great that you're carving out this time to just kind of set up the week to help you feel maybe a little more ready, right, for that week. So a little bit of planning. So just a little bit of housekeeping tips. Make sure if you want to participate in the chat that you set that little blue box to everyone. It has a really obnoxious habit of flipping to host and panelist. And when it does that, it's only myself and my fabulous co-host Bailey who can see what you write. So Bailey is going to help me keep an eye on the chat if anyone has any questions, or for those folks who sometimes get the where it flips, she's going to hop on and give a little wave, maybe. She's in a hotel room, so probably the internet is a little wonky, but that's okay. She's here. Just know she's helping me keep an eye on the chat. And then also, just a few community guidelines wanting to make sure that this is a safe and supportive space. So we just ask that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy here. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's okay to ask about stickers and pens and those kinds of things, but really the best place to do that is in the Sonder app. So folks can give you links and those kinds of things to what they're using. That's another thing to also mention. Sometimes, depending on the version of Zoom that you have, if people put links in the chat, you can't click on them. So I also always like to tell people to just kind of make sure that you do some if you need to do screenshots to remember something in the chat, or you need to do screenshots to save some of these slides. We do record this and it is posted on YouTube. Takes a few days, especially the weekend ones, for those to get posted. Just keep in mind there's no chat. That does not post over. So important to if there's something someone had said or something someone was talking about how they set things up and you want to remember that, make sure you screenshot that so you can remember. Also, any of those customer care inquiries like billing questions, shipping questions, issues with your journal, that kind of thing. Just make sure to send those questions to hello@silkandsonder.com. Bailey and I do not have access to your account, so we can't look anything up or fix anything or change anything or anything like that. So all of those questions go there. Just again, keep in mind they're a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Pacific time group of folks. So it might take a little while if you email on the weekend to get that response back. And then ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And We have a fabulous, very supportive, very creative, very smart, very resilient group of people here in our community. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that we're working on that just kind of isn't your jam, you're like not wanting to do something on a particular section or a particular page, do what you need to do. Maybe you just want to sit in color and listen to music, right? Or if the music I play isn't your jam, you can always mute that. If my voice isn't your jam, you can always mute me. We have closed captioning enabled. So really, this is your time to do what you need for you for this hour. And I do know the hour goes really fast. So also don't feel overwhelmed or stressed like you have to get everything done. Oh, Nicole, you're so sweet. I'm always Nicole's jam. um don't feel pressure. This journal should never be a source of stress, right? If we're working on a section and we move to another section, you're like, oh wait, I'm not done, right? Like take your time, do what you need to do. That's why I often say like just make some notes somewhere so that you can write things down and remember them for later. So let us dive in to our theme for the month of April. If you haven't had a chance to see that yet, it is authenticity, which is kind of a deep, intense theme, I think, for the month of April. But I think it's really good. It's very nice to kind of dig into this idea, and I think it's going to be really good for us this month. I've already done a few other socials. I did the monthly and did a weekly last night, and I have another monthly coming up, and just that thought of really kind of digging into this idea of authenticity. And I like this quote. It fits so nicely with Silk and Sonder, right? Less perfection, more authenticity. We are breaking up with perfect. We are not trying to be perfectionists. We are being very authentic. So if that means scribbles in your journal, if that means a sticker that's put on crooked, if that means you don't use a section, you just put stickers in it or you leave it blank, that is absolutely fine, right? This is here for what you need, what you are needing at the moment. And that's the other thing too, right? Each month I feel like our needs kind of change. It looks a little bit different. So yeah, the colors, I have to say, I am so excited with these colors. If you know me, purple is my absolute favorite, and these are just beautiful, beautiful colors. So I'm very excited for the month of April. So excited to get started. To get started on this month. So our agenda for this morning, we are going to do every time we do a weekly setup, we do what we call a mind map, where we give you some time to kind of answer a prompt and dig a little bit into that theme for the month. So we're going to have our authenticity mind map. We're going to do a rosebud thorn activity, our little reflection on the previous week. So again, if you're new and you only have April, that's absolutely fine. You're going to do the rosebud thorn on a blank page somewhere in your April journal. For those of us who have the March journal, we're going to use our the last page there in our March journal. And then we're going to work on those 2 pages for the weekly setup. So pages 26 and 27. And if you've been with me before, you know I always like to use these 2 little cartoons from the artist. The name is The Latest Kate. First one says, there's room for you here just as you are, a little pile of kittens. And sometimes things are going great in our lives and we want to celebrate. We want to talk about the promotion we got. We got a new car. We are signing the mortgage on a house. We found a new place to rent. We've done something amazing, or our kiddos have done something amazing, right? And we want to celebrate, and we love celebrating here with you, right? We love to celebrate those wins. But conversely, life isn't always ups, right? Life has those downs, life has those valleys. So if you need to share, maybe you've been ill, maybe a loved one has been ill. We have folks who have lost someone, lost a job, just maybe a little stressed with current events, those kinds of things. That's okay to share that as well, right? We are here to support. We are here to listen. And so room for you here just as you are, right? And then speaking of feelings, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So no one can tell you like, oh, you shouldn't be sad about that, or oh, you should be happy about this, or right? Like our feelings are feelings, and we're just here to feel them all together. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through this weekly setup. And I know folks are always so supportive of all of that in the chat. So the first thing we're going to do, find a blank page in your journal. Maybe it's the weekly scratch pad. Some people like to do their mind map on like the very back page, so it's easy to find. And then this month, we're going to explore the concept of authenticity in our lives. So each week we look at something a little bit different. So this week we are going to look at personal authenticity. So the question is, how do you know when you are truly being yourself? Reflect on a recent situation where you felt inauthentic, or it could be where you felt authentic, right? And then think about what contributed to that feeling and what could you do differently next time. So that's our little question. So you can see we'll have 4 weeks. I will tell you at the end of this month, there's like an extra weekend that kind of tacks on there. So we'll do what we call a bonus mind map. So I try to make, we commit to doing only 4 mind maps specifically to the theme, because I know I'll show you here's how people like to kind of set theirs up on that page. But then if there's an extra weekend, we kind of try to do something a little bit different that maybe combines the 2 themes. So again, here's 2 examples of how some folks have set up their page with the 4 weeks to do. You can see the one that has the little hearts. That's Jen O, our facilitator. She likes to use cookie cutter shapes as the as the tracing to go around that. So again, you can use sticky notes, or maybe you want to use the quotes page on page 38, whatever works for you. And if you're struggling a little bit with the prompt and not quite sure, here's some little sentence stems that you can use. So you can say, a time I felt authentic was when blank. I remember feeling blank and the situation was blank, right? So you can kind of write about that. Or while I was in the moment, I felt, afterwards I noticed, my emotions told me. Or if I had stayed true to myself, I would have done this. The words I wish I had spoken were, the actions I wish I had taken were, this moment taught me that blank, moving forward, I will honor my authentic self by blank. So kind of whatever works. And I love, Desi says, when my cackle laugh comes out and I don't even care, that means I'm very comfortable in being myself and not trying to be less me, right? And sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes we worry about someone judging us. We worry about, Katie, one of our other facilitators, talked about the mean girls in high school, right? Even though that was years and years and years ago, how sometimes when you were your authentic self, that might mean someone would tease you. I remember I am of an age when I saw Star Wars in the theaters when it first came out in 77, right? And I remember being such a science fiction geek or nerd or whatever, and we were kind of made fun of then, right? And it was the kind of thing where when you talked about how you loved Star Wars or how you loved some of those kinds of movies, you kind of got poked fun at. So sometimes being authentic can be scary and it can be hard, but it's so important, because when we don't allow ourselves to be authentic, we just don't feel like we're living up to our values and living up to who we can really be. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to cycle through, 57 times, Suzanne, you rock. I love it. So I'll just cycle through these slides. Feel free to share in the chat any thoughts that you have about this idea of either a time when you felt really inauthentic or a time when you felt authentic. And then we'll check back in and just keep moving on. All right. Thank you all so much for sharing in the chat. I really appreciated, Bailey kind of pointed out that being authentic involves a sense of vulnerability, right? We're kind of putting our real self out there and hoping that people are not cruel or people are not judgy. And then I know someone else was talking about they ran into one of their old bosses and just really realized how judgmental that person was and how unsupportive that person was and how they really had to feel like they needed to be someone else when they were in that job. And there were some other folks talking about in their jobs, kind of more of a corporate world, or feeling like the way they dress, they don't feel very authentic, or the way they have to act or the way they have to speak, is definitely something that is difficult for them, right? And it is really, when you are not being authentic, when you are trying to be someone else or be something else that you think someone wants, it takes a ton of energy, right? And it can be so draining. So I know someone else was saying, I have to protect my own energy and protect myself, and in doing that, that's being authentic, right? And so sometimes you just have to say, like, okay, some people are not going to like this and some people are going to be judgy, and they're just going to have to figure it out, because I can't spend the energy to be who I think they want me to be. And that's a hard thing to do. It really is. So I really appreciate everyone kind of talking about how when they're more acting more aligned with their values, they feel more authentic, those kinds of things. So just kind of think about this. And again, I think this is going to be a great but deep thought to kind of dig into this theme this week. And yeah, Nicole's talking about the book. I have not read it yet. The book Let Them. I think, is that Mel Robbins? Is that her name? I've heard that that's a really good book. So I think maybe we need a book study or something this month for our Sonder. Yeah, Mel Robbins. Yeah, so maybe we need to kind of dig into that. I love that idea. The other one that's really good is the how to deeply know a person, I think is the name of the book. I just read that, and it's really good. Oh, was it on Mayha's bingo board? The Let Them. Yeah. So love that idea. We have lots of resources here in the Sonder fam to talk about different things. So thank you all for spending that time. And if you didn't quite get to dig as deeply into that prompt as you wanted to, take some time after the social and spend some time. Or again, you can kind of work on this prompt all week. This is a great idea to kind of go back to it, maybe in your morning journaling or evening time reflections, right? Just kind of think, okay, was there any authenticity from me today? Was there any authenticity? Like, what did that look like? How did that feel? As we dig into that. So let's dig into our rosebud thorn, spend a little time reflecting on this last week. Again, like I said, if you have your March journal, that's going to be on page 56 in your March journal. If you only have the April journal, you're going to want to find a blank section or a blank page or sticky note somewhere that you can kind of give yourself this time to reflect. And so every week we want to spend a little bit of time reflecting on the past week, because if you're like me, you tend to blur through your weeks really fast and you forget some of the good things that happened, or you tend to, not that we want to remember the bad things, because honestly, our human brains are really good at remembering the bad things without any effort on our part, but it's good to take this time to reflect. And I saw someone who was talking about in the Sonder Club was talking about when they did their monthly reflection. At first, they thought March didn't have any good things, but when they actually spent the time during the social to go back and look through their photos and look through the calendar, they actually found a lot of really good things that did happen in March alongside the crummy things. Right. So our thorn is something that is frustrating, something that is stressful, something we don't have a lot of control over. And this is an area where we can really think about confronting those challenges head on, confronting those challenges with determination, sharing our struggles about how we overcame that. Sometimes it's just a matter of time, right? Carry on with resilience. This inspires and empowers us to grow from adversity. So for me, I work in education. Yeah, Amber's saying state testing. You're in that right now. Yeah, so that starts on Monday. For our high schoolers, are going to start with their science testing, and then the following Monday starts with our 3 through 8th graders. And while I appreciate, I mean, I am the assessment director, so it's not that I don't agree with assessment, but this time is just really stressful for our kiddos, for our teachers. It's just this really intense time, which is interesting because it's also at this time of spring and renewal and fun and happy, and then we've got like, the testing, right? So it's just not. Yeah, Nicole says I disagree with how assessment is done. I'm just not a fan, and it's going to be interesting to see how that rolls out. Over these next years with Department of Ed and those kinds of things. I don't know what that's going to look like. So that's our thorn, right? That we want to think about. And then our bud is something that we're looking forward to. It's helping us kind of think about the potential. Fostering that idea of curiosity, cultivating that growth mindset. And so for me, this time of year is I just get so excited with the spring flowers coming, everything's kind of coming up and growing, and the trees are getting buds. And except we have these, I can't remember what, it's some kind of a pear tree here in Denver. And they're beautiful, beautiful white blossoms, but they smell really bad. And so those are starting to come out. So it's one of those, it's like, they're very beautiful, but they stink really bad. Are they Bradford pears? Yeah, it is just, they're so beautiful, but I have to like, I don't know, kind of close my, there's one like right in our parking lot and, um, so it's a bud, but it's also kind of a thorn with the smell. And then our rose is something that's good, something exciting, something that's happy, that really made us smile this week. And so I took my husband, I took my mom to lunch and to the library. We try to go to the library every other week with my mom so she can have some books without actually having to buy more books because our family has tons of books. So that was very fun. That was definitely a rose. So feel free to share with us in the chat that your rose, your bud, your thorn, all three. And sometimes one thing can be all three. We had somebody last night that their 17-year-old son got his driver's license, and she said, which one is it, a rose, a bud, or a thorn? I said, I think it's actually all three. So anyway, so go ahead. I know folks are sharing fun stuff in the chat. Feel free to keep sharing, and then we'll check back in here in just a few moments. Right. Thank you for taking some time just to reflect on that. And you can see that a lot of folks, all of our lives every week is really kind of this mix of some some good things, some rose. Sometimes it's a very small rose, but we do want to make sure that we recognize that rose. And then sometimes the thorn's small, big, but really taking that time to recognize that and focus on trying to think of a bud, something that you can look forward to, really can be very helpful. And it can also really um, help you cultivate that sense of gratitude. So thank you all so much for sharing there in the chat. Again, this is always a good page to look back on when we do our monthly reflections. So thank you for taking the time there to think about that and to write about those in the chat. Thank you for sharing. So let's dive into our planner, page 26 and 27. And we always start out with the feeling, right? How do we want to feel for the upcoming week? And I always think of it as, how do I want to show up for myself and for the world in this week, right? And I appreciated this quote that says, hard times arouse an instinctive desire for authenticity. And I think that is so true because, again, like I said, being inauthentic takes a ton of energy and a ton of focus, and it's really hard. And when times are hard, it's much easier for us to just be authentic so we can deal with the hard times themselves, right? So we can just really be authentic and we can address whatever hardships are coming. So I think that's a really good quote. So when you think about this part about how you want to feel, it can be one word or maybe a more or less. I want to feel more of this or less this. Maybe it's a phrase or a mantra or an affirmation. Maybe you want to use stickers or pictures or quotes. You can bring, if you have a word you used last week and you really liked it, bring it forward. There's no need to come up with a brand new word every week. If you have one of those word of the year that you've been using, use that for this space. This is a great opportunity to remind you of that word. And it doesn't have to change every week unless you want it to, right? This is really kind of the piece. So Jennifer's saying she wants to feel awake, need to shake off the winter blues. Absolutely. I love this. Bailey's word for the year is serenity. So she wants to feel that rested. Yeah, just kind of pop those into the chat. Kind of how you want to feel this week. Maybe you want to feel energized, open, alive, inspired, bloom, know my worth. I want to feel discovery. I want to feel courageous, productive, right? This is such a great opportunity for us really to find that word, rejuvenated, healthy, and really kind of focus on that. So as you use that word, and as you come up with that word, these are so great, the words in the chat: fulfilled, supported, grounded, navigate, empowered, 1% better, receptive to the universe. The word could just be authentic, right? Maybe you want to feel authentic this week. And as you're kind of coming up with this word, and as you're thinking of that, now start to think about those three major goals. It's the box that's right underneath there, right? So I always like to think of it as, how will these three major goals support and help me ensure that I'm feeling that way that I want to feel? So you don't have to tie them in, but I think sometimes it makes life a little bit easier if you do, and makes things a little more tied together, right? So, and I also like this quote about never give up on your dreams or your goals. More importantly, never give up on yourself, right? So again, those authentic goals. So this is not a place where you put the goals of what society thinks your goals should be, right? These are your goals for yourself. So I liked some ideas that you can use for these goals is, maybe you want to go back to your April intentions on page 9, or that monthly habit tracker on page 11 to help you think about your goals. You can set those goals through the lens of authenticity. Maybe you want to have some no goals, like no alcohol or no doom scrolling, no more than a certain number of minutes on social media, no impulse spending. Um, Maybe you have some goals from last week that you want to bring forward that you didn't quite get to accomplish last week. Bring those forward. Or maybe they're even bigger goals. They're more for the month or for the year even, and you just want to keep reminding yourself of those goals and have those little pieces for what you want to do. Maybe you want to frame your goals around like a personal challenge. Maybe it's a fitness challenge or a cleaning or decluttering. I'm gonna do a 30-day decluttering challenge from the minimalists. I'm enlisting some of my family members to play along with me, where it's basically every day. Like on the first, you declutter one thing. On the second, you declutter two things. On the third, right, on and on and on. So by the end of the month, I have to find 30 things in one day to declutter. So we'll see how that goes. I will keep you posted, but that's kind of a fun little challenge to kind of think of in the spring cleaning. We're going to get our windows cleaned for the first time. We lived in this house since 2002. So 23 years of no window cleaning. So that maybe will shine a whole new light on the house, right? Oh, Jen says she's had that done and it's really gratifying. Yeah, absolutely. So here's some other examples of things that folks have done. Sometimes they break the goals into mind, body, work, um, things they want to delete, delegate, delight, those kinds of different areas that they want to look at. Here's some other examples. And I like the person there at the bottom. I was like, oh, you can actually put them horizontally, right? Like 1, 2, 3, because I always do 1, 2, 3. So I kind of like that idea as well. Again, mind, body, soul, completing different things, different areas. So I will be quiet, you can still think about that feeling, think about those goals. Here's some other examples, other ways you could repurpose this if you wanted. I know, April, I never thought of doing it vertically. I don't know why when I saw that, I was like, oh, brand new. Um, isn't it funny how our brains sometimes just get so stuck in doing something one way that we can't see a new way is just like it was just unthought of. And I like the one there's one in like 3 little circles. I love that idea too. So work on these. Feel free to share in the chat your how you want to feel this week or your goals, and then we'll check back in here in just a few moments. Okay, so I saw lots of good ideas for different goals that folks want to take on this week, different things that, again, might be a monthly, might be a go through the month, or something along those lines. So nice job. Thank you for sharing in the chat some of those different ideas that you have for that section. So I'm going to do both the to-dos and the habits and activities together because sometimes they're kind of interchangeable. So I want to make sure that you're finding the best way that you want to set this up. But those, you can see there's one example of how they took their three goals and mixed them in with their to-dos, and the to-dos is actually done in a fun little in a bingo, right? So you can do that. One person, they have a hobby, a me, and a Sonder to-dos. So they have things like write the 500 words per day, walk to the gym, and then they have the different days that they're going to do that. And then there's another one's just kind of a list of the things that they want to do. They've kind of got them broken into three different sections there. And then I like to pop this back in again as we start in Q2 of 2025. Maybe there's some things that you want to do more of. So you want to do more spending time in nature, especially now that it's warming up a little bit. I know a lot of us are, dealing with the rain, but warming up a little bit, or maybe you want to do a little more reading or allow yourself some more rest time, or maybe spend more time with uplifting people, right? So those are some fun ideas of things maybe you want to put on your to-do list. The Eisenhower matrix is always really helpful for some folks when they have like a list of to-dos, but they're not quite sure how to get them all done. So they look and see the things that are important and urgent. They're things I want to do now. They're important, but they're not urgent. I decide like when a time would be to schedule that. They're not important, but they're urgent. Maybe I can delegate it to someone else. And then the not important and not urgent, maybe I can drop it or I can delete it or I can delay it for some other time, right? So kind of thinking about your tasks that way. And here's some more examples. Again, a bingo. We all love a good bingo. Dividing it into needs, wants, and hopes. A work and a home division. One person has the to-dos divided into self-care, health, home, and their course, their schoolwork. One person changed it from weekly to-dos to weekly priorities. So you can totally do that as well. And I like there's one they have, don't do this, do this instead. And I love that idea of like you're trying to take something away. Oh, Nicole, thanks for sharing your need, want, and hope there. But did it hold true for you, Nicole? She says it was from like 2 years ago. Do you still use the need, want, and hope format there? But I like the don't do this and do this instead, because it's like you're trying to not do something, but you want to give yourself something else to kind of fit into that spot. So that's a nice way to kind of think about that. Maybe you want to repurpose it into a quote or a to-do list or a to-be list, or things that you want to subtract instead of do. And then for those habits and activities, or the habities, as I call them, right? There's some ways that you can stick to those habits. Talk about defining your why, focusing on progress, not perfection, taking it one day at a time, using the 2-minute rule, tracking and celebrating your effort, and preparing the day before. So maybe those are some things you want to kind of incorporate into the to-dos and habits and activities. So you can see some examples of things that folks have done with this. How is this, and some people will say, well, how is this habit and activity section different from the monthly tracker, right? So we have that monthly tracker wheel earlier in the journal, and so that really is more for things you want to do every single day, and the weekly habits and activities is more for a things you are specific for the week, maybe, right? And things maybe you want to only do a couple times during the week, 2 or 3 times. So you can see that's why it has the goal. And so that's kind of the number of times that you want to do this. And then like the one up in the top, they did a little bit of habit stacking, right? If you've read Atomic Habits by James Clear. So they have a night walk with their audiobook. So they're stacking their exercise and movement goal or activity with the reading. So they're doing both of those at the same time. And yes, the eat the frog, if you've never heard that phrase before, Daisy says she uses that phrase. The idea is if you have to eat a frog, if you do it first thing, then you've done the worst thing for your day. If you do that first thing in the morning, and then everything else should be easier. So sometimes I like to identify the frog for each day, and then I make myself do that at the beginning of the day. And then you're like, woohoo, I've done the thing that I was dreading. And have you ever noticed sometimes the thing that you put off and you think about it all the time and it occupies space in your brain? And when you actually make yourself do it, it takes a very short amount of time and you think, Why didn't I just do that before instead of spending all this time thinking about it? So that kind of goes with the eat the frog there. Oh yeah, I love that Tammy has a frog cookie cutter, so she's going to use that. So these are just some different examples, and here's some on from Silk and Sonder if you need some other examples for that. Again, I'm going to play a little bit of music, and there is a book about eat the frog, and that kind of walks you through some of the things you can do to help do that if you search for that. So again, I'll just play a little bit of music. We'll work on those to-dos and those habits and activities, and then we'll check back in and keep on going. Okay, I know that wasn't a ton of time, but hopefully you got some ideas for different things that you want to put in those to-dos and habits and activities. And honestly, sometimes you only want to use one or the other, and you can just put some lovely little stickers in there, and you don't have to use both, right? That is the great thing about this journal is you take what you need for the week. You take what you need for you, and that changes, right? It changes what we need from week to week can definitely change. So that's always kind of the fun thing. Maybe you want to experiment with some new habit or activity to see how that feels or how that kind of changes things up for you as you go into this next week. So thank you all so much for spending some time looking at that, kind of talking about the different things that you're going to do for those areas. Now we're going to flip over to page 27, which is one of our facilitators lovingly calls it the B side, right? The the record where we often only listen to the A side, but every once in a while we need that B side. We want to bring that in because it gives us a little something different. So we've got the meal plan, the mind body health plan, the shopping list, and the I am loving section. So I'm going to go through all of those so you can kind of see what you need to do for this week. And yeah, Anna's totally right. Some of the best music is on the B side. So the meal plan, I feel like, is probably one of our most heavily repurposed sections, just because some people say, well, I don't really plan my meals, or if I track my meals, I have an app or something that I use for that. So you can see lots of different ways. Maybe it's their clothing plan, maybe it's their meal plan for their soul. So they have some specific questions that they're going to ask themselves each day. Again, this is a great place to take some of those screenshots if you want to incorporate some of these ideas. Maybe it's a symptom or a health tracker. Maybe it's your schoolwork or your homework. Maybe it's your daily scripture. Maybe it's a daily debrief, journal prompts, appointments, wardrobe tracker, packing list. I love to use it for a packing list. Helps keep me from overpacking. Word of the day, your Wordle, your garden tracker, national day of, your chores. Great place to just kind of use for what you need for the week. Here's some other examples: weekly reflections. They use it as their to-do list for the day, affirmations, word of the day, quotes, wins and achievements. That's definitely a fun one. I think we sometimes don't celebrate some of our small achievements, so we can certainly use that. Bailey says she uses it for her work meetings, so it helps her kind of know what her week's going to look like. And then that mind body health plan, again, the idea is that it's things that you're doing for your mind and your body. So some folks, again, we like to do a little bingo. I like the fun one where it says keep it fun in the middle, and then we kind of have the different areas where they have things like just breathe, get outside and play. Those are all kind of fun. Go to a movie, text a friend, wash my hair, thank a mentor, fitness, serve others, start fresh. Like, that's a fun way to do. And I really like the one where they have my plan and my reality, right? How often do we have this great plan and then it doesn't quite go that way, but that's okay because we've got a nice plan, and then we're going to kind of help tie that in with our reality of what that looked like. And then if you like to find a, oh, yep, Leanne, I knew that was yours. I like that example. It's a fun way to really kind of think about that idea of this is what I wanted and this was my reality, right? Because sometimes they don't match. We also like to celebrate the different days. So maybe it's crayon day on Monday, or it's burrito day on the 3rd, right? So that's kind of a fun way to kind of put that in there. Oh, Savannah says she's tried a glimmer log, right? If you haven't heard of glimmers, those are those fun little things, the things that make us happy, the things that make us smile. So again, here's some other feels and needs. How did I nourish my mind and my body and my soul? Things I need to clean. And then our shopping list, again, good place for bingos. A yay me bingo, that's kind of a fun one, right? You do the things, but you're like, yay me, I did this thing. Packing list, birthday week bingo. They have like their nighttime routine, so they kind of are keeping track of all the different things that they need to do at night. They have a self-care shopping list to take what they need, and they have like a cute little bag there. Again, maybe you want to do something, talk about fill your cup. Maybe it says check in with people, and then chores, Wordle. Again, lots of different ways to kind of think about that. And then that last little box, people say, what am I supposed to put in the I am loving? Well, it can be anything that you're loving. You can fill it out right now. You can fill it out midweek for something that you're really enjoying. Maybe it's I'm loving simplifying, the confidence I am feeling, discovering my creativity. Maybe they have a powerful affirmation for the week ahead, right? Just any of those kinds of things. And I definitely am already loving all the setups that I've done with the Sonder fam this weekend. It's been great to just kind of be with all of you and see all of these fun different ideas. So I'll be quiet, play a little bit of music. We'll share with us how you're using these little areas, and then we'll check back in and wrap things up. right. Thank you all for sharing in the chat how you're using some of these different sections, maybe changing up some words. Bailey talked about her mind, it's mind, body, health possibilities, right? So sometimes just changing up those words and adding something a little different in there can really make things make much more sense to us, right? And feel much more authentic to who we are. So thank you all so much for being here. I know this is always the fastest hour. I don't know how it goes by so quickly. Please be sure to share those pictures of your weekly planner if you are comfortable doing so. You do not have to by any means, but we do love seeing them. And you know that these are all by real people. These are not magically AI created, right? These are all HI, the human intelligence that is the collective of the Sonder fam putting these in there. So we love when you see those. And I want to leave you with this quote from Brene Brown, where she says, authenticity isn't something we have or we don't have. It's a practice, a conscious choice of how we want to live. It's a collection of choices that we make each day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest and let our true selves be seen. So let's make some good choices this week. Let's make some really good, authentic choices. See how that feels. This is a good quote. I think I'm probably going to have to put this up somewhere because I think I really definitely like that. Bailey is popping some links in the chat for a link for our YouTube recordings. It does usually take a little bit of time to get the weekend ones up there, but they will be up there eventually. We do still have the deal, I think, for our 24/7 life coach, Jenny, right? And I know a lot of you use that. And so that's a good one. I think Bailey's putting that in there. Some links for that. If you don't have that, we do still have the deals for that. Hopefully everyone's on our Sonder Club app, so we're able to see you there. We have lots more socials and fun things set up for the week. Like I said, tomorrow, I think we have a monthly set up tonight. And then we have a weekly in the morning tomorrow morning. I'm doing another monthly tomorrow night. And then I'm doing, I think, the Wheel of Life and one of the other journal pages. I think it's Wednesday. But we've got lots more stuff coming up this week. So we would love to see you. Remember, we don't really see you. You only see us in some of these other socials. So have a fantastic rest of your weekend. You're all set up for the week, so you should be good to go. And I hope you have a fun week ahead.